Part 50. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gum Shuang. Chapter 491. Yingwan looked at the portrait and was thinking about something in his heart. Si Lu's mother passed away too early, and his life experience is somewhat similar to his own. However, it is as if she has no parents. She was brought up by her grandfather and later continued her studies all year round. Apart from her grandfather, Yingwan is still relatively indifferent to family affection in her heart. Only her grandfather often told her that it is better for children to have parents. Children who grow up with parents around them are always special. She looked at the photo. The colors were bright. If he were still alive, he would probably be a person who would be very happy to get along with Yingwan. Some people can tell whether they are compatible just by looking at their faces. 1. There was a faint sound coming from downstairs. It's the law officer. He had just been out not long ago. Yingwan turned around and responded, in your bedroom. Probably after hearing the sound, Si Lu quickly walked upstairs. He came in with a glass of juice in his hand and happened to see Yingwan standing on the portrait of his mother. He just glanced at it lightly without saying anything. He came over and gave the juice to Yingwan. You stay here alone, I'm afraid you're thirsty. Yingwan took it and took a sip. It's okay. She glanced at the portrait on the wall and asked as if to confirm, is that your mother? Si Lu didn't shy away from anything. He took one look at the portrait and said calmly, my father painted it when my mother was still alive. Yingwan praised, Uncle's painting skills are very good. It's because my mother is good looking. She looks good no matter how you draw her. Si Lu chuckled, do I look a lot like my mother? He didn't shy away from mentioning his mother, but his eyes were still a little dark. He basically didn't mention these things in front of outsiders, especially his mother's things. When he was young, he got into some trouble because of these things, and he would never forget the sympathetic looks of those people in his life. It was only as he grew older that these things faded away. No one dared to mention his mother casually in front of him. But when it came to Yingwan, he didn't shy away from anything. It's very similar. Yingwan's voice was clear and light, but there was a strange charm in it. Auntie is very beautiful. The smile at the corner of Si Lu's mouth widened a little. It's a pity. His eyes still dimmed for a moment. If she sees you. In the end, he didn't say it. If she could see Si Lu find a girlfriend as good as Yingwan, she probably wouldn't know how happy she would be. Si Lu just can't accept others talking about his mother, but he has never gotten along with his mother, so his attitude towards his mother is a bit indifferent in his heart, and he only misses this woman occasionally. Because no matter what, compared with Yingwan, he felt that he was still much luckier. At least his father really had nothing to say to him. But it was impossible to say these words. He left the juice and said with a smile, you can hang out here first. If you are interested, you can come down. We are in the front hall. There must be many people who want to see Yingwan, but the news has not been announced yet. Moreover, Si Lu didn't like Yingwan to interact with others in front of him. Those people always gave him the feeling that he was coveting them. After all, his Yingwan is so good, there will definitely be many people watching him. Yingwan nodded, I know, go down. Si Lu reached out and touched Yingwan's cheek, remember this during lunch. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gum Shuang. Chapter 492. Yingwan was only interested in Si Lu's bedroom for a short while. She was too bored to stay alone, so she went downstairs to go to the front hall. When she walked to the garden in the middle, she saw a large group of people. This group of people were all young men and women, dressed in luxurious clothes. At a glance, they could tell that they were from wealthy families, and they were the young man and Miss Jiaojin who came with their parents. A group of people walked towards the backyard, talking and laughing, and happened to bump into Yingwan halfway. The moment they saw Yingwan, they were all stunned. Yingwan didn't recognize them, but could only guess their identities a little, but they recognized Yingwan the first time they saw her. To be precise, now as long as they are young people in the imperial capital, who doesn't know that there is an acquaintance like Yingwan in this country? At this moment, seeing Yingwan, they were stunned for a while before reacting, and they all shouted to Yingwan, "Academician Ying! Hello, Miss Ying!" It was still strange for everyone to see her appear here, and they were all a little surprised. Yingwan nodded and smiled faintly, "Don't be so polite, I'm here as a guest too." Today is Si Guanyi's birthday, and everyone suddenly realized that if she was invited, it would be a normal thing. Some people were excited and wanted to come up to greet Yingwan and establish a relationship with her. After all, Yingwan's status was such that even their parents had to treat her with respect. But Yingwan didn't have that interest. She greeted and was about to leave, and those people didn't dare to stop her easily. When they looked at each other, a seat was vacated and Yingwan passed by. After Yingwan left, a group of young people sighed with complicated expressions, "Is that Yingwan? She is so beautiful and so smart, it's really amazing. My mother has scolded me more than a dozen times because of Yingwan's existence. It's really annoying to compare people. Academician Ying seems to have come from where Brother Lu lives." A girl said strangely, "If she came to attend the birthday party, shouldn't she stay in the front?" Even if it was Academician Ying, it was too strange. Everyone knows Yingwan and Si Lu. Si Lu has a bad temper. He never lets anyone in his house. No one has ever seen him. Even the young masters around him who are also of high status have no chance. Someone lowered his voice and said, "I heard a piece of news. I heard that Academician Ying is dating Brother Lu." Everyone was shocked, and some even took a breath of cold air. "Really?" The man nodded, "I heard from others that Brother Lu's circle has actually spread, but it has not been officially announced." The girl who spoke earlier heard the news, and a flash of surprise flashed in her eyes, and then her face turned pale. As expected, someone looked at her and then laughed, "Don't talk nonsense about such things. Academician Ying is not an ordinary person. Are we all spreading rumors? If you don't believe it, forget it." The person who broke the news curled his lips and said, "Let's go over first and then come back. They are talking about something in front. It's boring. Aren't we not allowed to go to Brother Lu's place? There are other places in the Si family. I know there is a side hall with a very good view. There is also an aquarium with many precious flower species that are rarely seen in reality. I went there last time I came." The girl smiled and took them over. The crowd followed her tacitly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 493. Yingwan came to the front hall and met the group of men and women just now. As expected, their parents came next. Many people from the Si family came now. They were all gathered in the front hall to discuss something. Such a birthday party is also a business place to some extent. Those who came early have a special relationship. When they saw Yingwan appear, many people looked over and looked at Yingwan in surprise. Is that Yingwan? Academician Ying, the one who has been particularly famous recently. My God, this is an outstanding talent in our country. I didn't expect that Si Guanyi could even invite her today. This Si family is really extraordinary. Go up and say hello. Many people came to say hello to Yingwan. Yingwan nodded to indicate one by one. These people knew when to advance and retreat. They knew that Yingwan's identity was different. They didn't say much after saying hello. Even if they wanted to establish a relationship, there was no interest. To them, Yingwan was just a particularly famous academician. He made a lot of contributions and was a kind of scientific research talent. With the country watching, it is better for them, businessmen, to try not to contact him. Sci-Lu glimpsed Yingwan coming over, and his mind moved. He found an excuse to turn down the person he was talking to, and walked directly towards Yingwan. Guanyi was also talking to a guest, and when he saw Sci-Lu walking towards Yingwan, he just sneered in his heart. However, Yingwan's status deserved their special treatment. Everyone was a little surprised to see Sci-Lu walking towards Yingwan, because according to Yingwan's status, it should be Guanyi who went to receive him, not his son. But what surprised everyone was that Sci-Lu walked over and naturally held Yingwan's hand. Yingwan didn't say anything. How could everyone not see this blatant declaration of sovereignty? Everyone was stunned at the moment. Yingwan and Sci-Lu. My God, these two people are too far apart. It's not a question of success or failure. The problem is that one is the prince of a consortium, and the other is a super genius who focuses on scientific research. How did these two get together? At this moment, Sci-Lu smiled happily at Yingwan, which was completely different from his indifferent face when facing the guests just now. Sci-Lu didn't care at this moment. He had wanted to do this for a long time. There were always some rumors outside that coveted Yingwan. Now he directly declared his sovereignty and let everyone know who Yingwan belonged to. These people should have an idea in their hearts. Yingwan didn't want to cause too much sensation when she came out. She said a few words to Sci-Lu and then found a seat to sit down. Occasionally someone came to greet her, and she didn't refuse. From her expression, she seemed to be more indifferent than Sci-Lu. Everyone was thinking that maybe those who do scientific research have this problem. They don't like to care about ordinary people because their IQ is too high. Besides, Yingwan's affairs have been quite a big deal on the internet recently. Everyone has seen the excitement and knows Yingwan's life experience. If this person wasn't so smart, she would be too sad to be wronged by her life experience. The biological parents favored sons over daughters to the extreme. Who would have thought that this second daughter was so powerful? Just as Yingwan was sitting here to rest, news came from Suhan. Yesterday Yingwan had instructed that all the information be thoroughly investigated, so Suhan and his team were busy with this matter. Becoming the richest by farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 494. After finding out who that person was, they didn't rush to tell Yingwan, but followed the clues and investigated the forces behind them. They did it covertly, but after all, they were in the business circle, and there would naturally be huge loopholes in the business circle. Previously, they just kept it a secret from anyone, but now they are investigating, and they are sure of it. There is really a special academic fraud organization behind He Tianqing. And this organization also involves several large universities, and the people involved include well-known professors and famous genius students. Of course, they don't want to be famous, but they have to make a choice between fame and money. When you are extremely famous, you may make a lot of money, but there are also many smart people who are forgotten by the crowd. But at the current stage, some people are even penniless. Selling a paper with a little bit of real talent can make a profit of hundreds of thousands or even millions. Who doesn't want to do these things? Of course, most writers are noble and have their own pride. There are very few people who are willing to sell their knowledge, but this organization has a certain scale. It even involved a major event fraud. He Tianqing was one of the main members, but it was not his idea to cheat, but his father's. His father was a famous professor, and his reputation was not very good. He valued profit and fame. Although his son was good enough, he was not as good as him when he was young. In addition, for some reasons, he bought several papers from this organization to fill the door for He Tianqing. His father was a member of the organization and did not pay any price, but once it was found out, it would be a complete loss. Moreover, He Tianqing was still a relatively serious case, that is, he bought high-level papers, and won awards and improved his reputation. It was even more impossible for his father to get out of this organization unscathed. This incident broke out because he was sure that his father was helping him clean up his s. But he didn't know how much trouble he had caused. The entire chain of evidence has been mastered, and it is a matter of minutes to arrest people. What these people did is illegal. Because it involves too many people, these people are not protected by umbrellas, but the umbrellas are unknown now. The person investigating is Yingwan. The power of Yingwan is unimaginable to ordinary people. She got all the evidence, of course she would not release it to cause a stir, but withheld the information first, and prepared to go to Tsinghua University and Peking University to meet their president tomorrow. There are too many people involved in this, and the matter is very serious. If it is handled, it will inevitably involve a wide range of people. If it can be handled privately, it is best not to make it public. Otherwise, the school will be affected, and it may even cause ordinary students to doubt the famous school. This is very unfavorable. Yingwan did not alarm anyone first. Now it is Si Guanyi's birthday party. She stayed at Si's house all day, and naturally the matter with Si Lu was made public. Almost everyone who came to Si Guanyi's birthday party today knew that Yingwan became Si Lu's girlfriend, or Si Lu's girlfriend turned out to be Yingwan, which caused a great shock in the imperial capital. Everyone who came to the Si family banquet was almost shocked, and they still felt like they were dreaming when they went back. Bai Ya did not come, but he knew this cruel fact through his wife's mouth. Bai Ya could not help but gnashing his teeth and cursing, "Evil beast! Becoming the richest by farming." Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 495. After attending Si Guanyi's birthday party, Yingwan returned to her home. Si Lu was a little tipsy on the way to send her off. He had to attend social events on behalf of his father today, so he inevitably drank some wine. This amount of alcohol was nothing to him, but in front of Yingwan, his thoughts were inevitably a little confused. On the way back, the Si family's driver drove the car. When Yingwan got downstairs, she was about to go upstairs, but her wrist was grabbed. She turned around and saw Si Lu staring at her deeply, and then asked very seriously, "Can't I go upstairs and sit for a while?" "Sure." Yingwan answered very straightforwardly, so straightforward that Si Lu thought he heard an auditory hallucination. "Really?" "Sure, you can see what my house looks like." She didn't worry about what Si Lu would do. If he wanted to make this request, Yingwan would of course satisfy him. Si Lu happily went with Yingwan. But he inevitably smelled of alcohol, and he brushed his teeth consciously after going upstairs. There are usually a lot of these things, so there will be no shortage. When I came out, I saw Yingwan staring at Xiao Hei's dog food bowl. "What are you looking at?" Si Lu walked over to ask her. Yingwan looked at Xiao Hei's dog food bowl and said, "I gave De Hei an order when I went out this morning, asking him to remember to pour dog food for Xiao Hei on time." Si Lu glanced at the dog food bowl, which was empty, and said, "It seems that your AI robot is really unreliable." But Xiao Hei squatted at their feet. Except when Yingwan came back, he kept wagging his tail, and he didn't cry because he was hungry. He didn't look hungry. No, De Hei executed it very well. I watched the surveillance video at noon, and he did pour it for Xiao Hei. This is a simple control program, which is actually not difficult, but the difficulty is that De Hei is an independent body. He can walk automatically and does not need anyone to control it. Yingwan glanced at De Hei. It has run out of power now, and it just stands obediently against the wall to charge. Seeing her looking at De Hei all the time, Si Lu couldn't help but laugh and said, "Have you made any breakthroughs?" "It's not necessarily a breakthrough. Yingwan thought for a while, I've been experimenting with AI intelligent learning these days. Daehae poured out dog food at noon and helped me sweep the floor. These are actually very basic functions, but Yingwan only gave Daehae the execution command and didn't teach Daehae how to execute it. Only one function needs Daehae to find it from its intelligent library, which is not a difficult task. But once it starts to act, it can give Yingwan some thoughts. Looks very smart. Sci-Lu changed his words immediately, moved the buttons on his shirt, then sat on the sofa, rubbing his forehead casually. I drank too much today, and now I feel a little dizzy. I haven't drunk for a long time, and my alcohol tolerance is not as good as before. Yingwan, didn't you drink the night you called me? Sci-Lu, that day was the second time I drank after I came back. Compared with the past, I am not drinking now, so my alcohol tolerance has begun to decrease. He sat on the sofa, still rubbing his head. Yingwan took a look and said, don't drink in the future. Alcohol is not a good thing. She gets drunk as soon as she drinks, and she can't even touch alcohol, so she naturally stays away from it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 496. Is it because you can't drink? Sci-Lu laughed softly when he heard this. I can still remember when you were drunk, Wan Wan, that was when you were the cutest. When it comes to being drunk, Yingwan was not embarrassed, but her expression was a little serious. Well, I will lose relevant memories when I am drunk, which is a terrible thing, so I can't drink anymore. For a scientific researcher, blackouts are absolutely terrible. It's okay at ordinary times, but once some relevant data is forgotten, it is fatal. Besides, her memory is so good that she can't be sure whether drinking will bring harm to herself. Superior memory has disadvantages, but it is also her weapon, and she has gotten used to it. Sit down. Sci-Lu waved at her. Yingwan's mind was spinning rapidly, and she was still thinking about Daehae. Hearing this, she shook her head. Wait for me for a while, I need to recalculate some data. Sci-Lu. He could only watch Yingwan enter the room in front of him and take out a bunch of things, from notebooks to some measuring instruments. Although they were not as good as those in the laboratory, they were obviously enough for her. She started to work. Sci-Lu sat on the sofa and couldn't help laughing at her calm and busy appearance. Yingwan said, what are you laughing at? When she was busy, she could do many things at the same time, so she didn't delay talking to Sci-Lu and was not afraid of being disturbed. Sci-Lu said, no, you are cute even like this. Yingwan, yeah. Sci-Lu lay down and put his hands behind his head. His deep eyes kept staring at Yingwan, and suddenly said, do you remember the portrait of my mother you saw in my house today? Yingwan, yeah, I remember. Of course she remembered it very clearly, and even now she can recall the teardrop mole at the corner of the woman's eye. It was shining and really as beautiful as the world. Perhaps you also know that when I was very young, to be exact, when I was 1 year and 1 month old, she died in a plane crash on the way to France. I was staying at my grandmother's house at the time. She went alone to celebrate my father's birthday, in order to give my father a surprise. There was not much emotion in these words coming out of his mouth. He seemed to be recalling the past, but there was only a faint sense of loss. The surprise was not given, but turned into bad news. I actually didn't know these things. My father told me himself when I grew up. He said that he didn't want to hide anything from me. I know it has nothing to do with him. No one knows that these things will happen. Until now, every year on my mother's birthday, he will go to the cemetery alone. Yingwan's movements paused, which was a sign that she was listening to Sci-Lu's words. Maybe it's because I haven't seen my mother since I was a child. When I think of these things, I just feel like they are other people's stories. My grandma and grandpa couldn't bear the blow either, and they died shortly after my mother died, all because of poor health. I heard a lot about my mother from other people. They said she was a very proud woman, never willing to suffer any loss, and never suffered any loss, and was well protected by my father. It was a match made in heaven, and they were too happy. Maybe God couldn't bear it? So he took away Sci-Lu's mother's life. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gum Shuang. Chapter 497. Yingwan turned her head to look at Sci-Lu. Although her eyes were calm, her expression was somewhat thoughtful. Your father treats you very well. Sci-Lu just laughed. He knew this was the truth. Sci-Lu said, I just want to tell you these things, there is no other meaning. Wan, I just want to ask you, when you were young, did you really miss your parents? I occasionally miss my mother, although I don't have any impression of her, but after growing up, this kind of nostalgia has only decreased, but has not dissipated. Speaking of this, Sci-Lu paused and added, although your parents. The silence at this moment seemed to last for a century. Yingwan stopped what she was doing and poured her mind into the past. Miss your parents? After a long time, she sighed and said, I have thought about it. How could she not miss it? But that was before she knew what kind of family the Lin family was. Grandpa always told her that she had to find her biological parents. They might have their own difficulties to abandon Yingwan. If our Wanwan grew up with her parents, I don't know how happy she would be. Yingwan knows a lot, but she also has basic emotions. She still remembers that when she was in full closed education in school, she would occasionally see other children's parents come to see her, and she would faintly have a complex emotion. At that time, she didn't know what it was called, but now she knows, it's called envy. Grandpa would come to see her, but that was when Grandpa's legs and feet were good. In the following years, Grandpa's health was not good, and Yingwan couldn't let him run to see her. She went back when she had time, but she could only see Grandpa once a year. She also occasionally thought about what her parents would be like in her dreams at midnight, what they looked like, and whether they were good to her. Later, she also realized that some things should not be fantasized from the beginning. As she gained more and more knowledge, she had her own opinions and became busier and busier. Gradually, she let go of her parents. Even when she received information about her parents and knew the truth of the year, she just laughed it off. Parents may be indispensable, but they don't seem to be that important to her. As long as she focuses on her career, develops useful products, and is happy, it seems to be enough. Isn't this what she is fighting for? Hearing the words "have you thought about it," Sci-Lu's eyes froze for a moment. He sighed, sat up from the sofa, walked over and hugged Yingwan, patted her head. Don't think about it now, you have me. Xiao He followed with a timely call, woof woof woof. Sci-Lu glanced at it, thinking that it was really annoying. It would spoil the mood at the critical moment. Yingwan laughed, which was even more spoiling. What time will you go back? Sci-Lu. He looked at the time, it was already 11 o'clock. His reason told him to leave, and his body told him that he didn't want to leave, so that in the end his mouth said a sentence before his brain, don't you have another empty room here? I can rest here, I'm dizzy now, I don't want to leave, I'm too lazy to leave. Yingwan. She looked at Sci-Lu deeply, there is a room, don't you have mysophobia? I have mysophobia, but isn't this better? At least it's a new room. Hearing that Yingwan didn't refuse, Sci-Lu smiled in his heart and breathed a sigh of relief. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gum Shuang. Chapter 498. Yingwan really didn't care whether he would go back or not, and finally Sci-Lu realized that he had thought too much about staying here. Yingwan's master bedroom was a long way from the second bedroom, and there were at least 3 walls between them. Sometimes a house that is too big is really not a good thing. Sci-Lu was thinking about this until he went to bed. Now he was sitting on the bed and calling Yingwan, and Yingwan couldn't hear him even if he shouted at the top of his voice. But being able to stay was a good start, and with this layer of helplessness, Sci-Lu fell into a deep sleep. Yingwan did some data experiments here and went to rest soon. Sci-Lu had to go to work in the morning, so he got up very early. He didn't wake Yingwan up, and ask someone to send some new clothes over. He didn't have any clothes to change last night when he stayed here temporarily. After he went to work, Yingwan woke up, and estimated that it was about time, so she got up, washed, had breakfast, and prepared to go to Tsinghua University and Peking University. Luo Junling was about to arrive in the afternoon, and the meeting time he had agreed with her was also this afternoon, so everything was just right. Yingwan did not hide his intention to go to Tsinghua and Peking University from the people in the school, but he only informed the principal. The principal certainly welcomed Yingwan's sudden visit, but he did not know why Yingwan came, and felt a little strange. He had not heard of any activities recently, but he wanted Yingwan to come back and give a speech, but Yingwan generally did not accept such requests, so the principal of Tsinghua and Peking University did not think much about it. Yingwan's initiative to come this time was really beyond his expectations, and he was very happy. Of course, he did not expect that Yingwan would directly send him a critical hit when he came this time. When Yingwan came to Tsinghua and Peking University, he did not tell others, and the car went directly to the principal's office. The students of Tsinghua and Peking University were used to big people coming here from time to time, and they did not care about the vehicles driving into the school. When Yingwan got off the car, the president of Peking University and Tsinghua University, who had been waiting for a long time, came over with a sincere and warm smile on his face. "Academician Ying, welcome, welcome." Yingwan stretched out her hand and shook the other party, with a faint smile on her lips. "President Li, hello." The current president of Peking University and Tsinghua University is surnamed Li. He usually holds other positions and is busy with things. If Yingwan hadn't said that he would come today, he would not have come specially. "Hello, hello, let's go upstairs and talk." Even though Yingwan is young, no one dares to look down on her in the academic circle, and they don't even have the courage to look down on her. President Li greeted the leaders in an official tone and various greetings just like he usually did. "Academician Ying, you are here today. Are you going to come to our school for an inspection?" "It's not impossible for her to come for an inspection." Yingwan just smiled and said, "President Li, there is no need to bother me like this. Peking University and Tsinghua University have their own teaching methods and don't need me to come for an inspection. I am here today for a major event. I hope President Li will be mentally prepared." President Li. If she didn't add the last sentence, President Li might even think it was a good thing. Yingwan didn't speak in an official tone, but was very direct, so Principal Li could tell at once. He felt something was wrong at the time, so he took Yingwan into the office, dismissed the others, poured a glass of water for Yingwan, asked her to sit on the sofa, and asked hesitantly, "Academician Ying, is there something wrong?" After all, Yingwan didn't have much contact with Tsinghua and Peking University, so this must be a big deal. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 499. If it was for other matters, she seemed to be able to ask someone else to come. Yingwan took a sip of water, raised her eyes and glanced at Principal Li, and said, "Principal Li, there is a student named He Tianqing in the computer science major who is in his junior year. I have something to ask him about. Why don't I call him over first? Principal Li's face immediately turned green. He fell in love not because of the person Yingwan mentioned, but because he knew He Tianqing. In the past 2 days, a plagiarism theory incident suddenly occurred in Qingbei. The protagonist of the incident was from their school. The school also clarified this, and He Tianqing also provided evidence to prove his innocence. In the past 2 days, people are still scolding it on the internet. I thought the matter was over, but I didn't expect Yingwan to come in person today. If it was a trivial matter, it would be impossible for Yingwan to come in person, but when she came in person to mention a sudden person like He Tianqing, a person like Principal Li didn't know the whole story, and she immediately understood that there must be a major accident. What accident is worth waiting for? That is He Tianqing lying. It has even been involved in some very serious accidents. At this moment, Principal Li's face darkened. He thought of some bad consequences, but he immediately nodded seriously, I'll find someone to call him over right away. He immediately called and ordered someone to bring He Tianqing over. Qingbei generally implemented comprehensive learning, and most students would be on campus and would not go anywhere else alone. It's easy to find people. After hanging up the phone, Principal Li felt uneasy and asked quickly, Academician Ying, I wonder if you can tell me why you called the student He Tianqing. Yingwan didn't intend to hide it, just said, He Tianqing has caused a plagiarism incident in the past 2 days. In his speech video, there were 2 places where he plagiarized other people's theories on the internet, and it was exposed. Although He Tianqing he provided evidence to prove himself, but he told the truth that the 2 theories he plagiarized were proposed by me through discussions with others on the internet. Principal Li, who was such a steady person, stretched out his fingers and started to pinch himself. Yingwan, she asked, Principal Li. Academician Ying, please let me slow down. Principal Li hid his face, this is simply outrageous. What if He Tianqing plagiarized someone else's work, but he copied it on Yingwan, who is currently the #1 academician in the country? Is he crazy? Is he crazy? Ah! Principal Li roared crazily in his heart. In all his years of living, he had never seen such a bold and reckless student who knew no limit to the limits of the sky and the earth. If it was just plagiarism, I could have simply solved the matter and didn't want to cause some trouble to the school. Yingwan sighed, unfortunately, this matter is more serious than I thought. Out of curiosity, I checked several of He Tianqing's previous award-winning papers and found that there are subtle differences in each of his award-winning papers. Most people may not be able to see them. But based on my professional judgment, there are problems with these papers. I checked further and found out that He Tianqing was also involved in buying and selling papers and academic fraud, which involved other professors in the school. Yingwan didn't need to explain clearly. Principal Li wanted to roll his eyes and pass out on the spot. If this matter gets serious, it will be a major incident that can bring him down. Outrageous, there is really only one way to describe it. Principal Li was silent for a long time, then suddenly slammed the table and became furious, this is simply unreasonable. Investigate, we must investigate strictly. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 500. When He Tianqing was notified by the school to go to the principal's office, he instinctively felt that something was wrong. His eyelids had been twitching a lot these days, and it was even more bizarre to be called out by the principal today. What matters does he need to go to the principal's office? That's the plagiarism incident these days. Because he has caused some influence in the school, many people now know him and will point fingers when they see him. Although he immediately found evidence to clarify, and many people in the school expressed their belief in him, but what if? I never thought it would happen. When he arrived at the principal's office, it was okay that he didn't see anyone else. Unfortunately, when he saw the girl sitting on the sofa next to the principal with a faint smile on her lips, His heart skipped a beat. It's too late. This legendary figure is simply the idol of every student. She actually appears here. No, she shouldn't be here. He Tianqing instinctively felt that something was wrong, especially when he looked at Principal Li. The anger in his eyes could not be concealed at this moment. If he hadn't been concerned about his identity as principal, he would have yelled at He Tianqing. Such a bad thing may affect his future, and even bring him a major reputational accident. He would feel sorry for himself even if he didn't scold him. After enduring it, he still couldn't hold it back. Principal Li reprimanded him loudly, He Tianqing, tell yourself, what did you do? He Tianqing's heart started to tremble violently at that moment, but he still tried his best to stay calm. His eyes uncontrollably glanced at Yingguan. Principal, to be honest, I don't know. Didn't you ask me to come? I did it? What's wrong? He still looked confused. Principal Li took a deep breath and said, you have produced evidence to prove that two of the theories in your speech in the professional speech class were explored by yourself. I will ask you again. Again, are those two controversial theories really your own? He Tianqing didn't know the reason for Yingguan's appearance here today. He was even more confused when he heard Principal Li asking him here, but he still subconsciously replied, it was, original by me. You're still lying. Principal Li couldn't hold back a breath, so Yingguan stood up, the two theories you copied are the theories I discussed with others on the internet, so those two theories are mine. I am curious, if they are, how come you have the same idea as me? Why don't we have a discussion? He Tianqing's face suddenly turned pale. Is it too late? How can it be? There was no way he would bump into Yingguan. How could a person like her have time to discuss casually with others online, instead of giving various public speeches and lectures? As long as she is willing, why bother discussing with others in an online forum? I have become very interested in AI projects recently, so I have been conducting theoretical research on AI. I got some inspiration from discussing with others, but I didn't expect such a coincidence. Yingguan curled her lip.